There's a bit of a mix-up when the truck came in at the time I ride up, and I'm pretty sure the customer told the advisor that it won't start once it's hot, and that's the reason why the truck was left running. And I kind of assumed that, even though the ticket was written up, it won't start when it's cold. So we pursued the hot no start issue. But we've already cooled the engine down, so let's see what we got. So we are sitting at 86 degrees and 48 degrees on it, 48 volts on our Fickum. So let's give her a crank. Well, actually, let's cycle the key. This laptop's the pits. Doesn't work for the flip. Got some elevated pressures here. Let me get my RPM. Yeah, we're running less than 700 RPM and we're up almost 30% on IPR. Running about a volt. That thing was hanging around 30%. So tomorrow morning, now it's after 10 after 9, we'll hook up again and go and drive this thing, get it smoking red hot, and shut it off. First, after we get it really hot, then we're going to do a couple of wide open throttle stabs and see if the idle goes crazy or if the oil pressure goes a little out of whack, and that'll indicate the fitting on the back of the oil pump, loose or no good or broken or whatever. Then we'll shut it off and we'll see if it'll start. We'll go from there. So 6 liter number 2 with a hard start, been idling all morning. It is 8:30 and I got here at 7. So we're running 181 degrees, but our pressures look fine. I mean, it's, you know, if this thing's got a leak, it's a minute leak. So let's stab the throttle here. See how it responds. Doing pretty good. Alright, so let's shut her off. Let's see if it starts back up. And she's dead in the water. Alright. So now we got to figure out, we got an oil leak. We're not getting oil to the injectors. So now we got to figure out why. The owner of 6 liter number 2 came and talked to me yesterday. Tuesday, today's Thursday. Had yesterday off. And he said when it won't start hot, you can give it a whiff of the little go-go juice, it'll start. So that's kind of telling me that we may have a bad high pressure oil pump. Because what happens when you spray something with ether in the diesel world, the engine speeds up. So a combination, we could have a worn out pump. This thing's got 250,000 miles on it, and a combination of really thin hot oil and a pump that's weak to begin with, it could be just enough to keep it from starting. Then it cools down, oil gets thicker, the pump can pump it. Because if we're cranking on 150 to 200 RPM and won't start hot, and we whiff it and we get the RPM up to 400, 350 or something like that, and it starts. See what I'm saying? Hopefully. But that's an expensive repair, and we still could be looking at a bad IPR valve. When it just gets hot and stops working, cools down and works. So we're going to change it out with a known good one I have laying around. And normally the correct way to do this would be get the truck hot where it won't start, and then change the valve out and see if it'll start. But it's been sitting for a day and it's nice and cool, and I'd rather just put mine in now, go drive it, get it smoking red hot, 180 degrees, the magic number, and shut off, see if it start back up. If it won't start up, then we're going to tell them we need to pull the cover off and look at the pump. It does start up, and it needs an IPR valve, and we can recommend stuff all day long. It's up to the customer. If he wants to put just what it needs now and worry about anything else happens down the road, or if he wants to go ahead and put a pump in it and valve, and maybe upgrade all the dummy plugs and standpipes in the valve cover. There's plenty of options. Depends on what he does with the truck and how many times he's out of town. So let's take advantage of a nice cool engine, and let's change out this IPR valve. So my goal is to get you in here with me so we can work on this thing together. Let's hope I can accomplish that. Got all kinds of broken stuff on here. This is definitely no version. Got the wrong fasteners on it. Something busted up. always goes difficult when the camera's on me. Still on these other day, I went smooth as glass. No issues whatsoever. So as to be expected, half the clips will work on the connectors. Makes it real easy to disconnect. That is the stupidest thing ever. Those get removed and thrown away on everyone I work on. For the simple reason of the frustration I was just dealing with. What's up?
Not much. Documenting?
Yeah.
Is this for the school or?
Nah, I make YouTube videos.
I do.
Yeah. You got to. That'll work.
I just had to drop the car off at Garrett, so I figured I'd come stop by and check on the kid. And saw you back here filming and couldn't resist. You know, I'll stop and irritate Lisa on the way out, get her all riled up for y'all. So then I'll go back to my area once I've caused enough.
Not a whole lot of people bothering your area. So there's the IPR valve down below the turbo. There's our turbo. And normally I would take this stud out, give him a little more room, but all the shielding's missing back here. It's all gone. So we can just reach down in there and take it right out. I'm going to use this socket. It's just an IPR valve socket. Makes it easy to get to. There's the number on it. Some extensions, a little swivel. Pop that right out. Check out this injector. Busted up hard shell on our injector. Somebody must have put one in it at one time. So that one's pretty loose, not a whole lot. Doesn't take a lot of effort to break it loose. I'm just working over here by the master cylinder. Spin the old girl out. That one actually looked pretty new. Someone may have been in here doing the same thing we're doing. The trick with this is spin it in as far as you can by hand. Makes it a whole lot easier to get the socket on there. We're not going to tighten this down and kill it, because it ain't going to stay in here for very long. I could put this thing completely back together and go and drive it, but it's not necessary. I'm just going to piece it back together enough to see if this does anything. So we'll let this thing fast idle in the bay. Or fast idle outside. One of the two. So the connector. Put that back on. So I'm going to stop filming right here. That's the gist of putting an IPR valve in. You may find a better way to do it. Some people may have different ways to do it, but that's the way I do it. And, it works fine for me. So all I'm going to do is plug that injector in that was unplugged, or came apart as I was working on it. Ground the fickum, because I'm going to leave the shield off. Leave the shield off. Doesn't do anything anyway, because they left all this. This would attach to a shielding on the back of the Y pipe. It's gone. So I'll just simply ground the fickum, connect the fickum up but not plug it in. I mean, connect it up but not bolt it down. Put the degas bottle back in place, the air intake, and start it up. Just let it run until it gets to 180 degrees, and then we'll recheck it. Thing's pretty obnoxious, so we'll let it sit outside and run. Had a pretty long crank, cold. There ain't a whole lot of action in this video. Sorry, more of a what have I been up to, what have I been doing on 6 liter number 2. So I got the pump out, and it's just worn out. The fitting's worn out. And this is the new pump. It's a reman. Comes with an updated fitting, which is nice. It's already got the O-ring on it. Comes with hardware, gasket for the turbo, seal kit for the IPR valve, this little plug in case you took it out while you were testing, and then the O-rings for the pump, and the gasket for the cover. This thing comes with plugs in the bottom of it, so if you unplug there and plug in that, you got to make sure you take those out before you put it back together. And at the same time, we are going to update the drain tube. So it's that number there, and that's the tube. And the tube is much beefier than the factory one, so it flows more oil. We want to get the oil out of the turbo as quickly as possible. So we've got pump, drain tube, and this one had a broken VGT solenoid connector, which is that number. And that'll cause a lot of problems down the road, so we're going to freshen that up. That's it. That's all we need for gaskets. This job couldn't be any more simpler. Matter of fact, I got more time in taking the wheels off of it and the grill out of it. It's had a nice grill, I don't want to mess it up. Than doing the job because it's been deleted. So turbo comes off really easy to begin with, and that pump comes out real easy when there's nothing in the way. All that shielding's gone. I would have liked to have filmed taking that off because it came apart really easy. Of course, if I was filming it, it wouldn't have. But I've got another truck that I've got to clean the turbo on. So I'm going to film taking the turbo off of that and cleaning it. And it'll be comparable to this job, but I won't be taking the high pressure oil pump out of it. So I'm going to turn all the fans on, get moving on this, and we'll revisit it when I get it back together. We got the truck all back together. We let it run, we let it warm up. Got it up to 180 degrees. Let it sit for about 15 minutes. So we're at 167. So let's see what happens. That's what we like to hear. So let's shut this back off. So this was the last one of our trifecta, our 3 6-liters, and it's the weekend. So it's late. It's after 5 on Saturday. So we'll let this thing marinate over the weekend. We'll drive it on Monday, recheck it, make sure everything's good to go, call the customer. This video is extremely light on diagnostics and action. I mean, 1 minute it's together, the next minute it's apart, and then it's together again. It can be hit or miss on tracing down problems with the oiling system on a 6-liter for the high pressure oil pump. Getting tongue-tied. I just happened to go after the pump, but I mean, it could have been anything. It could have been linked anywhere in the system. But this thing has a ton of miles on it, 250,000 miles, and really, I mean, I guess you should put air in the system. But I like to personally, I just like to put an IPR valve, a known good IPR valve, and see what happens. And if it still has problems, then you really should pull the ICP sensor out, which is located right there. The one way to do it is you can pop that sensor out and put air into there, close off the IPR valve, put air in the system, and listen for leaks. But that's difficult. I mean, it's really difficult to do that. But the source of this one's frustrations was this fitting here. This fitting's just come apart, and the pump's just old, wore out. So new pump comes with that fitting. They make just that fitting, and you can put it on, and you know, be okay. But I already had the pump out with that many miles. It was just smart to go ahead and put a new pump in it with a new fitting already on it, and then, you know, obviously reevaluate and send them down the road.